So our vision. Our vision for the company is to be a highly recognized and well-respected brand and business across the globe. I think that's pretty simple in that it encompasses a huge thing, highly recognized. So that covers all the marketing, it covers all the advertising, right? That covers all our social media. We want to be highly recognized. But not only highly recognized, we want to be highly respected, well respected. So with that, you got to think of our integrity, core values, right? As we're expanding internationally, there's going to be a lot of cultural differences. There's going to be a lot of challenges as we expand into the world. But we want to make sure that we remain well respected across all of our expansion, anywhere we go. Okay, so that's going to be our vision, and everything we'll do will be revolved around that. So right now, as you guys know, we're earning in excess of $350 million of revenue each year, which is awesome. Makes us one of the top countries in America. We also have headquarters in the U.S., and we have a couple branches in the United Kingdom, and we're also set to have a branch open in China by the close of this year. So we are expanding, and that's awesome. But where are we headed? So, $1 billion in annual revenue by the end of 2020. I think that's a very manageable goal. If you do the math, that's rough. Well, actually, we'll double this year and then double one more time, and that would actually put us at $1 billion. So we've got 3 years to do that. I think that's actually a very manageable goal. Also, we want to expand our headquarters to all the world finance capitals. So just for example, Tokyo, Singapore, Sydney, etc. Right? We want to be where business is, right? Because how else are we going to be a $1 billion company if we aren't where all the major companies, corporations are, right? We want to be well known, want to be well respected, so we must be in front of people and demanding attention, right? So, how are we going to do that? Well, let's talk about leadership first, right? So there's two schools of thought with leadership. There's actually, excuse my pronunciation, Heifetz, and Linsky, as well as Drucker. So these are three different gentlemen who are all very popular, so popular that we've actually integrated into our public education system in America, right? So that's what we're doing today, talking about it. Well, tonight actually. So Drucker, leadership style, all right? So typically when you get in a leadership position, you become a CEO or top level management in your company, you kind of have this image of the Energizer Bunny, right? You're just going and going, you're just going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. But you're not actually getting anything specific done. So Drucker says, rather than do that, if you even suggest that if you're a CEO, possibly have a secret office not in your building, so that you can focus on one or two things that are the top priorities and master those things, get them done, and really, he strongly recommends against doing three things. Also, having a start doing list, which most people think of as a to-do list. You guys already know what that is. But also a stop doing list, which I thought was awesome. There's a lot of things that we do in corporate America, organizations, even just a small basketball team that is not necessarily productive, right? So it does not increase the bottom line, does not really help the company grow, yet we still do those things. Meetings, follow up about the meeting, memo about the meeting, pre-brief about the meeting, what we're going to talk about. All those things are time wasters and could be used to do something more productive, right? So he's really big on saying, hey, what do we need to do, but also what do we need to stop doing or never start doing, right? And then also ensure communication flows up. So about the communication, that is, as a CEO, right, or as a leader of an organization, as a company, you have a vision, you have a goal, you know what it is that you want to do, where you want to take the company, but do the employees on the ground understand what that priority is? So if they've got 5 things on their list, are they going to pick the same 2 top priorities that you would pick? more times than not, they won't. And it's not that they are against the company or that they got poor habits, it's just that they don't understand your vision fully. So as a leader, Drucker is saying that you should constantly be in communication with management and also your deck plate workers to say, hey, here's my vision. What are you guys working on? What's your priority? Why is that your priority? Well, this is my priority. Here's what you should be working on and why. So making sure that everyone's actually on the same page is very key in the Drucker style leadership. Again, excuse my pronunciation, Heifetz and Linsky leadership style. So these guys, authority does not equal leadership. So you guys already know that. Positional authority, right? Just because I'm standing up here talking does not necessarily mean I'm a leader. It's not necessarily make me in charge of you. You guys are all veterans, so you know you've already heard that before. You know you're not respecting the person, you're respecting the rank. Well, that's BS in their leadership style. They're saying, hey, you got to earn the respect, right? And that's what we all believe as human beings inherently anyways. So, understanding the difference between technical and adaptive challenges. I think we're really, really good at that here in America, and especially in our company. We're not set on one specific leadership style, right? You guys know that on one side of the scale, you can be a dictator, you can be a Hitler, right? You know, do as I say or else. And then on the other side, you can be, you know, sort of like a people person, right? You know, you're just trying to please everybody. And in the middle is understanding that, hey, here's the goal, here's the vision, this is what needs to get done, but also being willing to accept feedback to say, how can we get it done? Because none of us is as smart as all of us together, right? So, and then power of the individual versus progress. So understanding and believing in each person, right? Each person has their own intelligence. Each person has their own skill sets, right, that they bring to the table. The best leaders can put people in a position that maximizes their skills, which as a whole helps the company be in the best position to grow and expand. Finally, personality versus presence, skill, and practice, right? A lot of people, I'll give you guys a prime example, right? They think, hey, you know, you go to college, get your bachelor's, master's, get your doctorates, you're automatically going to be a superstar. That's not the case. You guys all know, you've been in the military, right? Some of your best workers were guys that made a C in their classes, right? Some of your best engineers are ones that might have barely graduated college, right? Even some of the best inventors, you know, Thomas Edison, right? Some of the best philosophers that we have been rejected or failures in academic society. So it's not always necessarily just skills, but sometimes it's personality, right? So there's actually the lady on Shark Tank, I forget her name, but it's the one with the short hair. And she says when she looks to hiring entrepreneurs, right, she actually doesn't look for skill. She looks for their ability to recover from mistakes. So she says if somebody has a failure and they're like, oh, woe is me, you know, life sucks, it's so tough, she will not hire them no matter how great their idea is, no matter how great their business is. She says if that person bounces back and is like, oops, it didn't work, next, oops, didn't work, next, oops, it didn't work, next, she will work with that person, she will buy in that person, she will invest in that person, even if the idea or the business doesn't seem as great as others. So that's where you think of the personality of the individual versus presence. We're actually looking for people that have the people skills, right? Not necessarily just the knowledge, because we all know a jerk that's a genius, right? But no one wants to work with that guy. So because of that, our preferred leadership style is going to be Heifetz and Linsky. Maybe one day he can teach me how to pronounce his last name. Heifetz, okay.
And Linsky.
And Linsky.
Yeah.
And the reason why, as we already discussed, is we need leadership that is adaptive. Today, we do not have the luxury of living in the life that our grandparents lived in. They could work a job, do the same job for 30 years, collect a pension, and live happily ever after. We do not live in that world anymore. Today, it might be Facebook, or even 10 years ago, it was MySpace, right? Now it's Facebook. Who knows what it might be 10 years from now? 5 years ago, there was no such thing as Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter. Well, maybe 10 years ago, there wasn't this Twitter. Now those are things that businesses have to pay attention to. So we need leaders that can adapt and adjust and that are not stuck in just one way of thinking, that are open to seeing what the changes in the future are going to be. So that's why I recommend this style of leadership for us to grow. Porter's 5 forces. So threat of new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of customers, rivalries within the industry. So threat of new entrants. Well, that's a given. That's business. You can always expect new players. There's always a threat of the next Airbnb, the next Uber coming in and redefining the way the industry does business. But I think one of the ways that we can fight against that is if we are already asking ourselves, what does the future look like? We already have goals for 2020, but what will 2050 look like? What will 2030 look like? And how would we be operating in our business? How will we be doing business? If we consistently and constantly ask ourselves that question as a company and actually seek that and try to become that, I think we'll be competitive with any new entrants into the industry. Bargaining power of suppliers. As a manufacturing firm, suppliers, that's always going to be a cat and mouse game, right? It's a supply and demand, but we just have to be vigilant, stay on it, and recognize what's going on in the world, right? We keep a pulse on the market daily, then we'll be able to see changes long before they occur. And if we use historical data to see where changes relevant to our industry happen, then we can look at those indicators and put ourselves in position for when the changes happen.
Yeah, I have so we're talking about bargaining power of suppliers, and we're concentrating on the new facilities in China, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and it's like technological. All the technological part is going to be done in China. Our design team is in the UK. So where are we going to get those suppliers? Who are those suppliers? Where are those suppliers?
I don't know.
Probably China or Korea.
With China and Korea, yeah.
If we are operating over there.
But I think it also would depend on, who's got the competitive rate. Because nowadays, I mean, if you look at that cell phone you're holding, it's not made in one place. The parts might be from China, it might be from Indonesia, it might be assembled in Mexico. So we can do the same thing in China, except instead of it being a cell phone, it's going to be our manufacturing firm that we're building. So it will really be competitive to what countries that we can efficiently source from that would make it profitable for us without an extreme hassle, if you will.
Okay.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. But taking into account if we are using suppliers from different places, okay, Southeast Asia, some of them, our base companies in China, okay, so it is going to be, I believe, key, very important to get to know people from China.
Yeah.
Okay, so some leaders who are dealing with the supplier on daily basis, and they know the operations, they know the best routes. Okay, what is going to be the best method for us? And might think, go on the highway. Maybe they don't have a highway. Maybe it's better to get on boat to get to the final destination. So this is something as well important to deal with this, this risk, basically. Okay.
So this is some of the risks that we have. As you guys know, anytime you're developing, doesn't matter what you're developing, if you're building something on a massive scale, there's always risks. We try to predict the economy, we try to forecast it, but you never know exactly what can happen, right? Who can prepare for a 9/11 unless you were planning the 9/11, right? So the worst thing that could happen would be an economic recession right in the middle of our development, right? Right as we're starting to wrap things up, we're getting ready to tie the ribbon and do the grand opening. That would be a very extreme challenge for us to overcome. Also, language barrier, right? We already discussed that, we got to learn the culture. And that as we're going across the globe, although English is a language of business, we still want to be sensitive to those other cultures and try to speak their language as much as possible as well, and be sensitive to their cultural differences from the Western society. So, key internal structures. So one of the things you want to do is have a weekly meeting. So this can be either, let's say like a Skype session or something, but it's going to be a face-to-face using our, laptops via the internet. And what this is designed to do is to get our company as a whole to learn each other, right? I don't want somebody that's grown up in our company in China that's never been to the U.S. to not understand, how English sounds in America, and vice versa. So just by having the weekly meeting, we're more or less learning each other throughout the company without spending millions of dollars with us traveling all over the world. Also, monthly cultural flyers passed out. So just little tidbits, nothing too crazy, but just a couple of notes or facts, right, about different locations in our country, in our company that those cultures have that might be different. So, something in China, we can put that out in the U.S., right? Something that's going on in England, we could show that in Mexico, right? That way, we're constantly learning about other cultures within our company that's relevant to us.
For instance, Veterans Day. We could
For Veterans Day.
Veterans Day.
We could send
right?
the veterans home early, right?
Correct. Yes. Or show them what it is or where does it come from. Right. If we have a veteran in our company, that's something that is like very, very fashionable because it's working, very trendy as well. It's like that type of flyers where you have an accomplishers. This person won this award. This person did that, and not only related to the office. It's outside. In the personal business, they were helping these kids. This was like went on summer of this NGO to Africa or things like that. That is like are more personalized, and you can see a people's face. Maybe you are never gonna meet that person, but you see the picture, and I really like that idea of bonding these three different mega big cultures. I like it. Okay.
And then also, like you were talking about, we're going to offer financial rewards. So these are for ideas, right? We're going to be open company, open door policy. So it could be for anybody within the company, from the top to the bottom. But we want to offer rewards for submitting ideas, whether that be something that helps increase our bottom line, increasing profits, or if it's just something that helps streamlines our efficiency and helps us to grow or operate more efficiently at the company as well. Like we talked about earlier, looking into the future, what's 2050 going to look like? What's 2030 going to look like? What's 2020 going to look like? Global trends on the rise, right? Social media, it's here to stay. No matter how much someone might say it's for the teenagers or baby boppers. When you look at social media, it's huge. I mean, there's people making multiple millions as individuals on YouTube. So whenever you have that, you have to pay attention and make sure you have a presence there. Also, more cultures accepting Western societal views. So with the social media expansion, there is a lot more exposure to Western society, right? Especially women's rights, that's huge, right? This idea of freedom, the idea of financial prosperity, that is something that's being spread across the globe. So everyone may not necessarily have our same religious beliefs or whatever, but they can certainly appreciate the American dream that's been promulgated, right? Having your own place, being able to provide for your family, having enough excess cash to be able to vacation, right? They use their products instead versus their money because their currency is just so weak. So what's going to happen is a few places, the yen, the dollar, Canadian dollar, right? The euro, all those major currencies are going to be what circulates the world, and all the other minor, if you will, currencies will more or less evaporate because those countries will eventually convert, right? Expected brand goals to be $1 billion in annual revenue by 2020. And then also the outlook, like you said, must be expanding on social media, must also be recognizing trends in the marketplace and constantly be on the lookout. What's the next one?
Bravo!